Morning,
Nick.
Michael.
Good morning, Nicholas.
You tried to beat me.
You did
That was too quick.
I'm surprised for you to be quick today because I pictured beaten, disturbed, distraught.
Why? Because I was in Lawrence?
Yeah. Does that not happen to you when you return from Lawrence?
Well,
are you okay?
I wasn't there for like a bachelor party. I was just there for a little golf tournament, spent some time with family, so it wasn't as debaucherous as you're probably envisioning.
A golf tournament and a trip back to Lawrence for a game not being debaucherous? You're lying.
Yeah.
Like, you look at your face. There's a shit-eating grin on your face right now.
Good times were had, so I'm not going to act like it was completely tame. There was some sinning. I did sin, but for the most part, it was a pretty tame weekend.
What about, for me, I'm in worse shape after a trip from Lawrence, or like returning from a trip from Lawrence and after a bachelor party. I had that the weekend before. You're coming back from Lawrence, so we're two for two.
It would be different if you and a bunch of your college friends were all converging on Lawrence. That would be a different sort of experience than what I just had.
That is the single most destructive thing I can do to my body. Like, realistically, at least as far as a trip or an event would be or go.
Okay.
It would be a weekend back in Lawrence.
Let's say 100%. 2 weeks from now, you're going to Lawrence for a KU football game and all your college buddies are going to be doing the same thing. Give me the ideal itinerary for like a 2-day, 2-night stay in Lawrence.
My ideal is get in Thursday afternoon, and then I'm going out en masse Thursday night. And it always ends up being like the low-key night that ends up being crazy. Maybe Louise's. Maybe I go learn what this Logie's bar is about. I'll try to make it to Sandbar. Oh, really? I'll try to make it to Sandbar. I'll probably get distracted by Pickleman's, like something like that. Red Lion, maybe. Eat some popcorn.
Being distracted by a sandwich shop is not exactly what I thought you were going to hold into this weekend.
What? You don't get distracted by chicken Asiago pizza from Pickleman's? Like, that's on the itinerary. Friday, we're going to walk around campus. We'll go into the field house. Then we'll go to the Wheel for lunch. Like, that's a staple. Friday night, bar band at one of the Bermuda Triangle bars, probably the Bull. Though I will try to convince the group to do the Hawk and lose. They will not go with me. But so they'll do the Bull. We'll do the bar band. Honestly, that's the peak. Like, the bar band for me is a peak experience. I love the bar band. We will lose. It's like a mosh pit. Yeah. Yes.
I don't hate the bar band. I don't say that would be the peak of my weekend. I think you're on the right track, though. I think you're on the right track. I didn't do pretty much any of that. I did go to Louise's West after the KU game on Friday night. I was in the booth, went to Louise's West. That was always, that's a nostalgic one for me. And that's something that's a must anytime I'm back in town. But that was about it. That was about as wild as I got this weekend.
What would be, okay, so you wouldn't do, would you go to any of the Bermuda bars or just Mass Street?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Situations?
Well, what I would do is, if it's an afternoon game, I'd try, even if it's an early game, I'm trying to get to the Wheel pregame, have a couple of beers. If it's nice out, we're going to stand out on the patio, hang out there, head to the game. Afterwards, going down to Mass Street, maybe going over to Louise's West or Louise's Original. Those are my two primo spots in Lawrence. I think that's the foundation of what I'm building a Lawrence weekend around.
Those are all on my itinerary, but it's not my foundation. Mine is going to be probably Friday night before the game. And I like to go to the Hawk's Nest or somewhere up on the Oread. Get a little view in.
That's not the college experience, though. That's the post-grad experience. And I'm trying to relive my glory days when I go back in town.
But you won't go to the bowl to hear the bar band?
I will go to the bowl. I'll even go to the Hawk. If I was in your group and you said, let's go to the Hawk.
You come to the Hawk with me?
Absolutely.
Jayhawk shots. This is part of the reason I'm in such bad shape when I return. Like just horrible, cheap liquor. Obviously, chicken Asiago pizza. Okay, probably
stop with the pickle. Okay. I don't need to hear any more about the chicken.
I don't even love it. I don't, but it's like gonna happen. Like that will happen. So I'm including it. It's not that I look forward to it. Like a lot of giggling. It'll be a good time. Hey, are you gonna host?
A lot of giggling, he says. Yeah, I am gonna host, and right now I'm gonna lay a little something on you. Let me give you the rundown for today's show, Mike. Okay, first off, is KU football sick? They might be. We saw the return of Jalon Daniels. What did we like? What does it mean? What's going to happen next? Is it too early to ask if KU could be a legit contender in the Big 12? I did some exhaustive research. The most popular KU players this season, we're going to quiz you on those. Attendance.
Oh, this season. Okay, keep going.
Yet. Okay,
keep going.
Okay, this is why.
Keep going.
Come on. Not even close to a sellout. Attendance talk. Is it a problem? Should we discuss it? KU, should they be ranked? We got some submissions. Finally, it took us 3 episodes. Finally, some people submitted some takes. And KU's a big favorite against Nevada this week. All of that.
We like.
And much, much more on today's episode of Could Be Wrong.
You think that's good hosting?
I've had better, but I'm not ashamed of what I just put forth.
And I could be wrong. You guys could look at this, and I could be wrong on this. I could be wrong, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I could be wrong on that. You'd have to ask him. But
KU beat Illinois 34-23. Although I don't think that final score is really indicative of how the game went. It was 34-7. With like a minute or two to go in the third quarter. Maybe let the foot off the gas pedal, but I mean, realistically, Illinois would have needed a 5th quarter to get back into that game. We saw
Jalon just Daniels. Did the 5th quarter thing?
I'm just saying, like, you can look at that final score and say, oh, well, KU made things interesting. Like, not really. Like, at no point in time was anybody actually fearing that Illinois was going to come back and win that game.
You didn't pucker up a little?
No. I mean, okay. I didn't leave the stadium as early as I wanted to. At the end of the third, I was like, let's get out of here. One more scoring drive and we're leaving. And it never came. So we ended up staying till like there was 4 minutes left on the clock. So that part I'm a little frustrated about. Could have started my after game activities a little bit earlier, but we're not here to talk about that. We did see Jalon Daniels, and not just did we see him, we saw him exclusively. I know Jason Bean got out there. He was lined up at wideout, I think at least once or twice. I don't know exactly how much he was out there, but the whole idea of, okay, maybe they're going to split reps. Maybe they're going to bring him along slowly. It was all Jalon Daniels, and it was glorious. We saw Jalon give us everything that we saw last year. Aside from the final numbers, Mike, my biggest takeaway from Jalon's performance was that we saw two plays in particular, and there were probably more, that showed you what he does that Jason Bean can't. And it was the play where he's in his own end zone, rolling out to the left, hits Lawrence Arnold on the deep ball, and then later in the game, rolling out to the right, pointing downfield, chucks one up to Luke Grimm. Those are the 2 plays, and those were great plays by the wideouts, mind you. Like that wasn't all Jalon making it happen, but those were, I think, the 2 biggest examples of him showing you what he gives you beyond what Jason Bean can do. Jason Bean's great. When things are going according to plan, he can make some really good throws. He's a good athlete. He can get outside the pocket and make plays with his feet. But Jalon has that extra gear that I think, going back to our conversation last week, is born with the stuff that he has between the ears that maybe Jason Bean doesn't, the confidence, like the it factor, if you want to say it.
It's a little extra, it's patience.
He was on full display.
A little extra patience and composure when things break down. I know we were saying that they can do the same things last week, Jalon and Jason. I'm not totally sure about that anymore. Like Jalon Daniels
Not either.
Jalon Daniels is better than I remembered. That was one of my big takeaways. Like he was really good, really poised, made good decisions, and he's got the big arm. He's elusive, patient. Like it goes a little bit beyond the mental stuff for me. That's what I saw. I mean, I guess the mental stuff is a huge part of playing quarterback, but his arm is really good. And it was really impressive. We hadn't seen him healthy in a long time. We don't even know if he was that healthy, but he was better than I remembered.
You know what was most impressive about it was that was like 80% of what Jalon Daniels can do if you need him to. We saw games early in the season last year when they had that 5-0 start. There were a couple games where KU wasn't running the ball super effectively. Yep. And even in games where they were, he was your leading rusher for, I think, 3 of those first 5 wins or 4 of those first 5 wins, where he had to literally be Superman for you to win some of those games.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case. That wasn't the case because KU ran the ball so well. So you look at his final numbers and they don't exactly jump off the page at you, but you watch the game and you watch just a handful of those plays that he can make. That to me is the biggest indicator of like, okay, yeah, now I remember what this guy brings to this team.
Oh, it was exciting. You were there. Was he getting up a little slow to you? It looked like it on TV, like the whole game he was getting up slow. I just don't know.
I didn't really notice that.
Okay, good. It might have been a TV thing. Maybe it's part of being a KU fan where it's just like being frightened by
You're
good things
for
happening.
Something to go wrong.
Yes, pretty much at all times. No, like it just on a big play, I'd be like, hold on to the ball. Like worried that there were fumbles at the end. I watched with my buddy who's an Ohio State grad, and then he went to USC for grad school. Like he's seen a lot of good football, and he's like, dude, relax. You guys are dominating. And I'm panicking, up 21 on a 10-yard pass like that the world will collapse. So maybe it's just a KU football fan thing. Do you feel that?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I do feel that, but there's also part of me that, and I think I kind of got to this point last year where it's like, hey, they've sucked for so long that I'm not going to allow myself to not enjoy this period of time where they don't suck. So they may go back to sucking eventually, but in the here and now, like I'm going to enjoy every single second of this that I possibly can. Because I want to look back on it and say, hey, remember when KU was good for a couple of years? And you're like, yeah, I was miserable the whole time because I was waiting for the wheels to fall off. Can't do it.
I just want to believe. Like I want to believe. It is loser mentality. And it's so fun. It really is just such an added bonus. It's great. It is great. And also, like you mentioned that run game. Devin Neal.
Loki.
Did we forget how good he is?
He's showing it. No,
he showed it.
No. We didn't forget how good he is, Mike, because this is the best he's ever looked. 2 games, one of them against an FCS opponent. I don't know how much I want to take away from Illinois because I went into this game thinking this is going to be a good test with the defense that they have. Maybe Illinois is not going to be that good this year.
Yeah.
I go back to, going back to some of those early games last year when Jalon Daniels entered the Heisman conversation. You look at the West Virginia game, the Houston game, the Duke. Devin Neal was not rushing like this. So when KU looked their best, Jalon Daniels was having to do it all. I think he was the leading rusher in 3 of those games.
You said that twice.
I'm reiterating.
Yeah, okay.
I'm re-emphasizing because I was doing homework while you were talking. Was I listening to what you were saying? Not really. Because I was looking this up to make a point. He had to do everything last year. And if you can just have him play to his strengths while also rushing the ball in a dominant manner, which is exactly what KU did, all of a sudden, the game opens up for him. because he doesn't have to be Superman. He doesn't have to make every single play for your offense because he knows he has this dominant ground game behind him. Devin Neal was great, but most of his best games last year came in the second half of the season when KU wasn't winning as many games. What if I told you this year, Jalon Daniels can be the guy he was at the beginning of the season, and Devin Neal can be this guy all season? If I gave you that combination, all of a sudden, whatever your expectations for this team are have to be raised.
What if I told you, are we doing it a 30 for 30? What if I told you Jalon Daniels, Devin Neal, both really good? I'd be really excited, but it's on the table.
Whoever wrote the copy for that script's getting fired.
What do you mean? I'd watch the shit out of that. No, like it's exciting. He looked great. I mean, really slippery. Still, it's a Power 5 defense. Illinois is not, they may not be great, but they're not Missouri State. So it's really reassuring to see that.
Okay, then let me ask you this.
Okay. Talk dirty to me.
Was that the most impressive game of the Lance Leipold era at Kansas?
Ooh. Do I have to pick that over the Texas win? I'm going to say without...
That might be the most memorable. I'm talking about evaluating the performance they put on the field against the competition.
I think yes, because, you go back to the famous, like, you lose big, you lose close, you win close, and then at the end you win big, like as the next level of progression. I know that they didn't finish technically winning big, but they dominated Illinois. They dominated them up front too. I was surprised at how physical they were. I mean, it really, that was maybe the biggest takeaway for me. They seemed really physical, both sides of the ball. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes, that was the most impressive game of the Leipold era. And I'm not concerned about the second half at all, because I think KU went back to not showing it. They showed it early. We know, and I think they went a little vanilla there in the second half. My understanding is like they've really got some creative offensive schemes that we're going to see this year when things get tight, and they're going to hold it all. They don't need to show it. And I am now a believer in not showing it early. So we don't see eye to eye.
Already a believer in not showing it.
Bielema, halftime interview. You didn't hear this because you were at the game, perhaps having a claw, maybe a seltzer. Who knows? Claws are seltzers. But, Bielema was like, we can't handle their sets. All their sets have confused us. He said that going into the locker room at halftime. That is because they didn't show it. So
okay, well let me go ahead and hit you with something real quick. I've been discussing this with the Show It All gang, and we've come to the conclusion that you're not really on Team Show It. You like to associate with Team Show It, but when push comes to shove, when push comes to show, you actually tend to lean a little bit more towards not showing it. Because you keep saying these things. You keep saying, oh no, competitive advantage. I want Illinois to have to prepare for two quarterbacks. And let me touch on that really quick. After seeing Jalon Daniels and the way he played early compared to what we've seen from Jason Bean, I'm even more on Team Show It. You know why? The idea, you're going to have to prepare for two quarterbacks. Jalen's best plays were stuff you can't, let's prepare for Jalon rolling out to his right and throwing it 40 yards downfield on the run.
On the move.
Yeah, let's prepare for that. Hey, guys, we got to start practicing. The stuff that Jalon brings is not stuff that you prepare for. You don't change up the game plan based on his ability to make improvisational plays downfield. So I'm even more Team Show It than I was going into the game.
I'm offended that you believe I'm not Team Show It. I am Team Show It, but
of course,
it's all about showing it at the right time for maximum impact. Yes, of course, tastefully. So you hold, and then you show. And it works better. No one likes someone who's just showing it all the time.
That's true, because then all of a sudden it's like, what's this guy's deal?
So you save it for the right moment. That's it. And I think we're going to see that this year.
I do think it was the most impressive game, by the way, of the Leipold era. I think given the competition, it wasn't even close. Like if you would have told me KU won this in a shootout or that it was a grinded out back and forth game, I probably wouldn't be saying this. But the fact that Illinois, again, they may end up sucking this year, but it was another test. Like we talked about our takeaways from the Missouri State game. That was a bad team. You're supposed to beat the brakes off them. That's what you did. Power 5 team comes into your place. It was a 3.5-point line, and you nearly ran them off the field through 3 quarters. That was the test.
Yep.
You passed it with flying colors. You get a 100-point circled plus on this assignment, and you move on to the next game. So I thought, just given the expectations going in and seeing what we saw, especially from the defense, which was the biggest question mark coming into this season, there are no negative takeaways I can have from that game. That was as dominant, I think, as KU has looked against a legitimate Power 5 competition.
Completely agree. I don't even care if Illinois sucks. It doesn't matter.
I don't either.
It was.
Like, I don't like playing that game either. I don't like playing that game either when, good or bad, you beat a team early in the season.
Yep.
Like KU beat Duke last year, and then they went on, oh, wow, Duke
turns out
good. It's like, no, I don't care what they turned out to be. I care about what you did when you played them, because turns out my teams aren't the same all season long. A team you play in week 2 may not be the same team that they are in week 10. So I don't really care about playing the revisionist history game. I'm going to parlay that into another borderline flagrant question. And this might be hashtag too early. Too early, gang. Is it too early? And this is really tough to ask after what Texas did to Alabama. Is it too early to ask if KU could be, I'm softening the question, could be a contender in the Big 12 this year?
Oh, man. What a world. What a world we live in. What does contender mean to you?
I mean, we get to the end of October and we're still entertaining the idea that KU could play in the Big 12 championship game.
Okay. In the running for top 2. I don't think it's too early to ask if it's possible. I think we're looking at a quality football team with some really high-level players, a good line. I think it's on the table. Now, the schedule's tough. The Big 12 looks good. You just mentioned Texas. OU has 2 really impressive wins. They got to go at Okie State. They just beat Arizona State on the road. Kansas State looks competent and they've passed their tests. UCF just beat Boise. Cincy's 2-0. Like, there's some new
how many
tricks.
Of those teams? How many of those teams that you just mentioned would you confidently put ahead of Kansas right now?
Well, you put Texas OU ahead of Kansas. You put K-State ahead of Kansas. Historically speaking, like I think you have to. And then KU's in that Okie State, UCF, Cincy chunk. I don't know about UCF. Like, very unclear to me. But I think right now that's probably how you separate them.
Well,
you
here's
agree?
The beautiful thing. Yeah, probably. I agree with all those teams. But the beautiful thing about college football is that you don't have to beat all of those teams to be a Big 12 contender. Like, the question is not, will you beat all of these teams head to head? That's not how it works, because in college football, teams are going to lose games they probably shouldn't. And KU's right in that mix. But in terms of like expectations for the rest of the season, Texas is going to be tough, especially because you play them early in the season. And the one thing about like going into the Texas-Alabama game, it was, oh yeah, you've got a good quarterback. You got good skill position players. Yeah, well, Alabama's going to destroy you up front because that's what they do. And that's what happens every time a Big 12 team plays an SEC team at the top of the conference. Well, turns out Texas absolutely wrecked Alabama's offensive line for 4 quarters. So I'm going to be a little bit nervous about that one. So again, I'm not saying you have to go and be able to beat all of these teams. The question just becomes, are you in the mix? Are you going to be in the mix? Can you be in the top 4 or 5 teams in the Big 12 with a month to go? I don't think I'm ready to go there yet. The defense looks improved. Got to see it over a sustained period of time. The offense, I do think, looks better than it did a season ago. The offensive line's building up really well. I think the run game has been far more consistent. Again, 2 games, one of them against an FCS team. But I've been high on Devin Neal all offseason. And if he raises his game to be one of the top 2 or 3 running backs in the Big 12, or if KU has one of the top 2 or 3 running games, knowing that like we can talk all we want about all the skill position players and all the talent that the rest of the Big 12 has. Remember, Jalon Daniels was voted the preseason player of the year. So Quinn Ewers, congratulations. Dylan Gabriel, Will Howard, coming off a great game. They voted Jalon Daniels, Kansas Jayhawks, the preseason Big 12 player of the year. And if you have the best player on the field every single week,
at quarterback,
very well could, at quarterback, at the most important position on the field, you're going to have a chance to win. If everyone else.
So are you talking yourself into it?
Enough.
Are you talking yourself into it? You said it was too early. Too early, gang.
Did I just contradict myself?
You talked yourself into it because, like, yeah, they could be in this thing. You know who Texas plays?
He is the great equalizer. Jalon Daniels is the great equalizer. The question for me is going to become, can the defense just do enough? No one's asking you to be a good defense. I'm not even asking you to be average. Can you be not the worst? That is the question for
You're right.
Can you be not the worst defense? Because if the answer is yes, now KU is going to have a chance every single week.
You know who Texas plays after KU? And I'm sorry for pivoting that, but it's Oklahoma. It's Red River right after the KU game. Good time to play Texas. They'll be ready, I assume.
Has Kansas not escaped the trap game moniker because teams respect Lance Leipold and Jalon Daniels to the point where like you're no longer just going to overlook them and cross them off the schedule?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they might come in with a ranking. It's like, you know, I think so. I think they're probably beyond that at this point. Jalen's too good. Can't wear the Apple Watch. Big 12 media days. Those guys saw that. So I'm going to say, yeah, they're probably not going to get totally overlooked. Red River's, it doesn't matter who they play the week before. So, yeah, I think KU could be in this thing. That's all we're saying. I don't think it's crazy to say that I'm basing it on what we saw. Now, once again, people who I watched this game with, buddy, Ohio State grad, his wife, Michigan grad, she rolled up around the first quarter, was like, you're excited about beating Illinois? Or she went, like, if Michigan was losing, it would be like world sky is falling. That's basically what her take was. She was having a very hard time understanding the level of excitement for manhandling Illinois.
This ain't Michigan. It
ain't Michigan. And we're asking
cut from a different cloth.
KU's in the top half of this conference. Like, that's it.
I think that's a good way to look at it. Like, let's just take this week by week, take inventory. Where is KU right now? They are in the top half of the Big 12. Feel good about that. But getting up into like the 3 range, like the top 3 range, that is a much bigger step than getting into the top.
You got to win road games in the conference.
Yeah, and we won't
to do that.
And the first real one you'll have a chance to do is Texas. You play Nevada this week. They're like the worst team in the they're one of the worst teams in college football. And then BYU. So after that BYU game, I will reassess sort of my vibes. We'll do a vibes check going into the Texas game. But I've got 2 more weeks before I'm really taking the governor off this puppy and saying I'm all in on Kansas being a Big 12 contender. Now, as you mentioned, Mike, I was at the booth on Friday, and I did some pretty exhaustive research, and I would like to turn this into a quiz for you. I was sitting there watching the game, minding my own business, doing my thing, And I'm taking inventory around the stadium.
Having an ultra.
A couple of ultras. And I saw a lot of KU jerseys, and I thought, who's the most popular player that fans are wanting to rep? So I compiled a top 5 list, and the game today is who were or what were the top 5 most popular jerseys being sported at the booth on Friday. There are no rules for this, okay? So it's not just current players. It's not just KU jerseys. It's jerseys in general. What were the 5 most popular at the KU game?
The 5 most popular jerseys.
And
football jerseys?
3 strikes. Football jerseys.
Okay.
I'm giving you 3 strikes here. So
did you write this down though? Did you write down winners?
Yeah, I've got the list right in front of me.
All right. I was going to say, is this through some ultra lens? Are there funny notes here? Okay.
No, these are the 5
How dare I?
most commonly
NFL jerseys count.
Let me say this again. The 5 most commonly sported jerseys at the booth on Friday.
This blackout is going to... Okay. All right. Patrick Mahomes.
I don't hate the guess, but I did not see a Patrick Mahomes jersey.
You tricked me. You
strike.
fucking tricked me. All right. Jalon Daniels.
Jalon Daniels was the 1 spot. Okay, so you got on track there. Jalon Daniels was by far the most common jersey I saw on Friday.
Okay.
It's not even close. It's like Jalon Daniels and then everyone else. There were probably 100 times more Jalon Daniels jersey than the next closest.
Now, does last name have to be on the jersey, or are you doing number?
And either or.
Okay, all right,
I'm going based off
Todd
what
Reesing
I saw on the back of the jersey. Todd Reesing would be number 3. Okay, so Todd Reesing was the 3rd most common jersey. So Jalon Daniels at 1, Todd Reesing at 3. You've got 2 strikes left.
Devin Neal?
Did not see a Devin Neal jersey.
All right.
Did not see a Devin Neal jersey. So you've got 1 strike left.
Kerry Meyer.
Kerry Meyer was the 5 hole.
Yeah.
So you got the 5 spot. So you've got number 1, number 3, number 5. I will
now
give you a hint. I will give you a hint here. One of these jerseys I would not associate with a player.
Is there just okay, I guess I want to save that for later. Because I only have one guess.
I would
okay,
say
Kenny Logan
too. Kenny Logan, I will give you that because it was the number 1 jersey.
Number 1.
Kenny Logan. Is it Puka Williams? Did you just go on the KU store and buy a generic number 1 KU jersey? I'll give you that. You have 1 remaining.
Was that the one you were associating? Not associating?
Not associating.
Okay, so the other one you are associating.
Current player.
I must be forgetting something obvious here. Okay, so it could be Kobe. Thinking about Kobe and Lawrence Arnold at 2.
I think you're overthinking this.
Hold on. All right. Well, I'm definitely overthinking it. I mean, then it's like 0 or something. But you said that's not what you're doing.
Think iconic. Think iconic, man.
But you said current player.
I did. That was a dead giveaway. I've given you like 3 hints that I thought would immediately make a light bulb go off in your head, and you're going to kill yourself if you don't get this.
I don't have it. I don't have it. Like
he scored a touchdown.
20?
I'm going to start the shot clock.
20. Like I don't. Oh no.
20?
That's not right.
Mike, we were looking for Jared Casey there. We were looking for Jared Casey, and he was actually number 2 on the list. And there were quite a few Jared Casey jerseys, and that one's probably going to sting.
I think Iconic really fucked with me, man.
Oh,
I get why you said it. I get why you said
the
it.
game-winning play in one of the biggest upsets in program history. Yeah, you're right. That's probably not.
It's Jared. I mean, it's a great point.
He's the second most recognizable player on the Kansas roster.
It's a great point. No, you're right. I totally glossed over it and was trying to like parlay it with some older player. No, you're totally right.
Don't apologize to me. Don't apologize to me.
Show it all, gang. Show it all, gang. I'm sorry.
Show it all, gang.
To the Casey family, you're good people, I think, and I'm sorry. Jared, cool commercials. I'm sorry.
That's disrespectful to say cool commercials. How about cool career?
Cool hands.
Coming in as a walk-on. Nobody, by the way.
Jared Casey is awesome.
There's not one person in the Kansas fan base that thought that Jared Casey was going to parlay that play into like a productive career. And he's still out there making plays, catching touchdowns. One of the coolest stories in terms of a KU player of my life, like the ability to not just make that play, but he's like, yeah, I'm going to stick around and like continue to be awesome for this team the next couple of years. It's so cool.
You think he throws a pass this year? You know they got him in some trick play.
I'll take the under on that.
I'll take the over. Some like jump pass, Jared Casey. We got another year with him.
We do. So I guess he's got.
He's taking a snap. He's taking a snap. What about that?
I'd still take the under on that.
Okay. All right.
You already have two good quarterbacks, mind you. So I don't know why you would ever need Jared Casey to chuck one downfield.
Don't you want to believe sometimes? Get the fans going.
Yeah, they don't have enough. They don't have enough going for them right now. I actually want to parlay this into another conversation.
Did you say
being at the booth?
All right, we'll discuss that later. You're reusing segments, I think, or segues, transitions. I think you've done parlay this twice. One? Have you not done this twice?
I don't think anybody else was going to notice.
Oh, I'm not letting you off the hook, Mr. I'm the greatest host.
I didn't say I was the greatest. I just said I was better than you.
I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't. I'm putting the glasses on. Oh, I'm the best host. I'm the best host. Jared Casey. That's under one.
The glasses are reserved for statistical segments only.
Jared Casey over one snap taken, over 0.5. Ooh, that's a stat. Get out of here. All right, what were you going to say? Sorry.
The official attendance for Friday night was, I believe, 45.8.
Okay.
I'm not going to lie to you, man. Felt a little high. I was surprised by the amount of empty seats I saw in the booth. Now, I don't particularly care. Again, I go back to what I said last week. This is Kansas football we're talking about. You cannot expect overnight for fans to just become loyal and want to pack that stadium. And it's a Friday game. You got to think about people with kids. It's tough to get kids out of school.
They're families.
Go straight to the game.
Yeah.
We're talking about families here. We're talking about fathers, okay, and mothers. And you got high school football as well. So I get it. If KU keeps winning, I would imagine, if they beat the brakes off Nevada this weekend, we'll come back and see a pretty packed booth for BYU the next week. However, the students showed out in a big way. Not only did they completely fill up the student section, and the TV broadcast made sure you knew that. They kept just zooming in.
It looked
the student section.
Great on TV. They showed
it. The blackout going too.
A lot. Yep.
ESPN. Tell you what, who's a fan of showing it?
ESPN. A nice tight shot. Not the whole building.
The student section had the blackout going, which I thought looked really cool. You mad? We didn't hashtag pack the booth on Friday?
I'm not mad.
You are team pack the booth.
I'm team pack the booth.
Show up.
I pushed it hard. I'm not that mad for a lot of the reasons you just said. And the student section looked so good and it looked awesome on TV. the whole, like, the scene looked really strong on TV. I wasn't there. So I heard it was kind of weak. People have told me that. I've read it. I've seen it, mentioned on social media. But, like, it looked awesome from my point of view. And I know it's going to keep trending in the right direction after a performance like that. Now, I will be mad if it's not packed for ideally a 3-0 team coming home against Nevada. Or
why
BYU.
Is this so important? I know this is probably a rhetorical question. Like, I understand you want to have full houses for your home games. Why is it so important to you that fans show out this year? Like, what's the downfall if this thing's just not packed all season with KU playing well? Are you thinking about Lance Leipold leaving? Are you thinking about donor money? Like, what is sort of the main impetus for pushing this so hard?
I'm hearing. You see this? I'm doing hearings. I'm touching my headphones.
Is that how your hearings come in?
Boop, 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 boop. That's me. And now I'm holding my phone. I got props. Yeah. Oh, the glasses? You're doing the glasses?
That was really geeky.
Okay. All right. It matters to the coaching staff, as I understand it. They believe it matters to the players. It matters to recruits. It matters for the optics of the program. They want to see the fans show up. I know it matters to the players, the recruits, and the coaches. That's why. I don't even know how much the players, but I think recruits and coaches care. This coaching staff wants to see a packed booth. And you know what? Like, I don't like the idea of mouthpiecing, but, like, if it is important to them and it's something that fans should know, like, I'm sharing what I'm hearing on that. And so I'm going to be team pack the booth. Plus, it's fun. It's exciting. Like, it's part of what KU is trying to build here and change the culture. So, yeah, I'm all in on the idea of packing it. I'm not going to go crazy over Friday night against Illinois not being packed. Also, like, they didn't bring any fans. I assume BYU will bring quite a few for their first Big 12 game. So, like, I'm not stressing. Though, I think it does matter in the long term that KU fans continue to support the program in ways we are not previously used to.
By the way, I think Big Game Boomer was there on Friday. He said he would be.
Heard that.
And he said, you won't be able to miss me. You'll see me there. I didn't see
Don't
him.
be mean.
So,
no, he tweeted.
How am I being mean?
Just kidding.
Oh, now all of a sudden he
I'm just kidding.
He sent one nice tweet to you and you guys are boys?
Well, obviously boys. And the tweet was to us, Nick. It was to the podcast Twitter account. So he sent it to you too. No, he was there. He said it was a good crowd. Was it loud in there? Was it a decent atmosphere?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say it was a bad atmosphere. It wasn't one of my takeaways from the game. I didn't walk out of the stadium thinking, wow, that place was rocking tonight.
Have you ever felt that at the booth?
Yes.
When?
I mean, over a decade ago.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, KU beat Nebraska to end a 36-year losing streak. They beat somebody else at home. I want to say Texas A&M. So there have been a couple of games. They beat K-State there back in
the K-State game is legendary. Yeah.
Yeah. So all of those, I felt that, but that was a different time. That was a long time ago, and KU was playing at a different level. There were different expectations. So I think it will get back to that. I wasn't there for College Game Day last year.
Neither was I.
Imagine it was pretty rocking.
Yeah.
Then. So, and I think it will be at some point this year as well, whether that's BYU or whether it's for, a rivalry game later in the season. We get K-State at home this year. So into the season, hopefully KU's still in a place to where people are going to want to pack out for that game. So yeah, I've definitely seen it before and see it again.
You want to do if we're doing expectations, if we're looking down the season, that K-State game, every week I want to do a record prediction for KU so we can see how this thing ebbs and flows as the season goes. So
I get to change my expectation
every week
by week.
Every week we're going to do a new record prediction. You want me to go first? You want me to show it?
Yeah, you go first.
What I saw against Illinois was at least 8-4 team. That's my new prediction. 8-4.
I actually like 8-4.
Okay.
Only games because I'm looking at this with games where I'm like, I don't know how they win it. And that would be at Texas.
Yep.
Against Oklahoma.
Yes.
And then I feel like the last 3 games, even though I don't know exactly which one, like Texas Tech plays really tough. Kansas State's obviously always going to be a tough matchup. I think you can go on the road and win it, Cincinnati. But I'm somewhere in between 7-5 and 8-4. But because
it's going to be tough.
My expectation before the season was 8-4. So I have no reason to move off that based off what we've seen through 2 weeks.
I'm bumping it up.
If I'm getting this Jalon Daniels all year, if I'm getting an improved offensive line, a more consistent run game, a dominant Devin Neal, and a slightly improved defense, you don't think that's worth an extra 2 wins from what they did a year ago? So I'm firmly standing on 8-4.
8-4. I'm bumping it up. Calling it 4. I don't even care. What about to start? Like, is anything, if they don't start 4-0, are you disappointed?
Well, yeah, because you're going to win this game against Nevada. You're massive favorites.
Better.
One of the worst teams in the country. You will. BYU's an interesting one because you look at some of their numbers, and hold on really quick. I'll go ahead and beat you to the punch so you can't get me.
I'm joining. We're both wearing glasses.
No. I did it first, and let the record show that I put the glasses on first. I believe they are 10th in the country in scoring defense. Mind you, like, who have they played so far? They beat Sam Houston State and Southern Utah. So not really reading into that too much. I don't care how good your defense is unless you've got a bunch of NFL players in your front 7. That's the only way I'm going to be like, ooh, I don't know how we score against them. Like, if you just got a bunch of good corners.
Illinois got some NFL dudes in their front 7. Don't they have 2?
Yeah, they've got one on the D-line. They just sent Devin Witherspoon, just went top 5 last year at cornerback. But it's different, though, I think, when you're talking about like a Texas defense. Like, oh, you have dudes. Like, Texas they're pretty much all dudes.
Turns out,
look at their front 7. They're all going to the NFL.
Turns out the NIL era is going to be good for Texas. I think that's what we're starting to see.
Do they have money? Do they have rich donors? Do they like to spend a lot?
Apparently, they like to show it.
They do.
Those donors like to show it. And it was a problem until now.
And that's why showing it's not always good. Texas has always shown it. And when you show it that
too much,
it kind of loses it. I think you're right.
Oh,
you got to do it tastefully. You got to
show it
your spot
tastefully.
The whole point is, like, I don't care what your numbers are. I'm not looking at a BYU defense top 10 in the country in scoring the same way I'm going to look at Texas. I don't care what you've done. I care about who you have. And Texas has a different caliber of player on their defense. So I say all that to just say, I'm going to go into the BYU game expecting KU to win that. So yeah, I think
4-0.
I don't know if it would be disappointing, but if you start 3-1, you're going to feel like you let one get away.
Yep.
And in this season, if you're trying to get to 8 wins, that's kind of a must-have game.
I think so. I'm with you on that. It's not, going to derail anything. But looking ahead at that schedule, now looking at what's possible based on what we've seen, got to get that one. Head into Texas 4-0. Would be awesome.
Hey, Mike, I have something exciting to share. We have been pushing this. I specifically have been pushing this.
Yeah, you have. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
And we have not got a ton of takers, but I'm feeling like maybe the floodgates are about to open. We have been asking for your submissions. We have been asking for your takes, your questions, your predictions. We want you to send us audio and video so you can be on the show with us. I don't want to read your tweets. I want to hear your voice. I want to see your face. We did a little ticket giveaway. We had a winner, Eli, who then, after the fact, sent us another video. So congratulations to Eli. He's showing it. If you want to, we talk about showing it, you need to show it. You need to show us. And I want to go ahead and share our first take. This is Eli's takeaway from the KU game.
All right, y'all. I got a few takes to get off. First, shout out to the pod for getting me in the booth. That was so sweet. Thank you, guys. Second, I'm just so proud of how this team played, man.
Where is he?
I mean, I was so nervous going into this game.
I think it's a car.
And I'm particularly so proud of how we came firing out of the gates,
He's clearly
man.
walking to his car.
I mean, one of my biggest worries from last year carrying over to this year, and we even saw it in the Missouri State game, was slow starts.
What a legend.
But, man, getting up 14-0, especially on an offense that likes to run the ball, was so huge. And, I mean, it really helped out our defense. And, man, with that defense, this was probably the best defensive game, especially the first half, was the best we've probably ever played defense under Brian Borland. I mean, he had them schemed up perfectly. We were running around. We were hitting dudes. We were dominating the line of scrimmage. I mean, we looked like a football team that could win 8 games with that defense, and that was so sweet. Overall, man, I couldn't be more proud, more happy with this team. 2-0, on to 3-0, baby. Rock chalk.
Two big things that he touched on that we didn't really talk about when we discussed this game. Best defensive performance we've seen under Brian Borland?
Yes. Most impressive, for sure. Yes.
And the other part, and I agree with that. I mean, Illinois looked slow. Illinois looked really slow in that game.
Yes, they did.
And that was evident from the first possession, both sides of the ball. He touched on something that I did think about during the game, and we talked about this last week, slow starts.
Yeah.
KU got behind the 8 ball so much last year. That was why I think it's the most impressive game that we've seen under Lance Leipold, is they showed it from the first possession. Like, they were running the entire game.
Yep.
In a way that we really didn't see, even when they were playing well last year, like getting down early against West Virginia.
Right.
They never really built big leads.
Houston.
And this was the first time we just saw them run someone out of the building.
They dominated the game. Like, this was a dominant performance. Yeah, we haven't seen anything like this against a quality opponent at all. Starting like that, that's why I kept waiting for something to go wrong. It was just perfect. It was crisp from the very first play and a nicely scripted start. And they just continued to dominate up front. Illinois was not ready for what KU brought. Like, that was clear. Really impressive.
Which is surprising.
Where is Eli?
Like, you're coming into that game. Yeah, where is Eli? Where was he? I think he was clearly walking to his car.
I like to picture my Eli walking to his car in Lawrence after a great day.
Wearing a t-shirt tuxedo because he likes to party, but he also likes to have fun. No, I don't know how Illinois thought that game was going to go. It was kind of weird. They said, we can't stop their sets. Like, what did you prepare for? They gave you a season of tape on the type of stuff they're going to be running. Shout out Andy Kotelnicki, man, the real Coach K, the only Coach K anymore for that matter. So shout out Andy Kotelnicki. He shows it. I think, he's like a bulldog that Lance keeps on a leash. And every once in a while, he unclasps that leash and lets him run around the yard. And we saw that for about 2.5 quarters on Friday night.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what else he's got planned, what other tricks he's got, because I think we're going to see some fun stuff. I keep saying this. There's a lot of options. It's in that backfield. You've got a lot of running backs. You start combining that with Jason Bean, and all of a sudden you've got 3-4 runners in there with Jalon too. 2 guys who can throw. Like, okay, they can have some options in this thing that'll really be fun to watch. So yeah, it was just dominant from start to finish, and Andy Kotelnicki's offense was a huge takeaway there. Obviously, the performance of the defense up front, like being more physical than I thought, was also the big takeaway.
We went into that Illinois game thinking it was going to be a bigger test than it was in reality. I mean, KU was a 3.5 point favorite. I think it closed at 3. I saw it around 3 or 2.5. It was kind of fluctuating.
Upped. Yeah.
We thought that game was going to be close, and it wasn't. But now as you get ready for the Nevada game, it's a completely different mindset because it's kind of the same feeling I had in week 1, maybe with more confidence now that we know Jalon's going to be out there.
Yep.
We've seen the offense for 2 games. You see, okay, they're still humming like they were last year. I'm really excited for this Nevada game, not because I think it's going to be close or like that there's anything really to prove, but I'm excited because it's like, okay, now we get to go see KU win by 40. They're 27.5-point favorites at the time of this recording. I like these sorts of games because in years past, 5 years ago, if you were playing Nevada week 3 and you say, oh, they're one of the worst teams in college football, wouldn't have really mattered because we would have been saying, so is Kansas. So this might be the worst game on the weekend slate. But like we get to experience the same things that other good programs do now, which is, oh, go beat the shit out of them. Like you have a bad team that you're going to go play late night. I think it's like
it is
10:30 game.
Yeah.
On Saturday.
9:30 Central. 9:30 Central.
That's a nice little nightcap, a nice little ass whooping for a nightcap to go to 3-0 and to head into the game against BYU back in the booth the next week.
Certainly should be. I mean, you're not worried at all about a letdown in between the Big 12 opener, the Illinois win. No concern.
No.
Okay.
No, I trust this coaching staff.
I think I do too.
To not allow that to happen.
I think I do too. Nevada lost by like 48 to USC, 66-14, and then
they lost to Idaho last week,
33-6
to Idaho.
Put some respect on the Vandals name. They won their opener 42-17.
You want to know how I know that's a bad loss? Because when I go to Nevada's schedule on College Football Reference, hold on.
Yes.
Yeah, putting the glasses on. I go to I don't know if you knew this, but I check footballreference.com sometimes. So not a big deal, but it is something that I do. Glasses on for that comment. You can't even click on Idaho. They don't even have a page.
No. Really?
That's how I know that's a bad loss. And it was a blowout. So Nevada's not a team I'm particularly afraid of. They're basically dead last in every significant statistical category. They do have a running back by the name of Sean Dollars.
That's cool.
More like Sean Penny's, in my opinion.
No.
Right. That's just something that I'm going to go ahead and say. More like Sean Penny's. And I'm going to stand by that. So come at me. But I'm not particularly fearful of a letdown. Even if there is a letdown, what's a letdown look like? You only win by 21 instead of 40?
So you think KU covers? Okay. It opened at
100.
It opened at 20.
Just lost by. They lost by 27 to Idaho, Mike.
The line opened at 27, already ticked up to 28. Totals at 60.
They have one passing touchdown. They've scored 20 points in 2 games.
What if KU doesn't have their 2 starting cornerbacks for the first half?
Then they'll only win by 32.
I like what you're telling. Your confidence has inspired me to dong this opener
prediction.
All right.
I'll give you a final score prediction. 45-6.
No, I don't like it.
Okay, coward.
45-17. So is that not a cover?
How many times do you think
KU scored
45 points last year?
I don't. Most games when Jalon was healthy, every game.
By the way, they scored 48 in week 1 against Missouri State. They crossed 45 points.
But Andy won't show it.
They scored 40. They scored 55 against West Virginia. They scored 48 against Houston. They're gonna show it, even if they don't. Even if you just show, even if it's just like an outline. It's like, what's that?
Little bulge.
You go, is that what I think it is?
Impossible.
That bulge. That Bulge is worth 35 points.
Yeah.
And then you just need a couple other things to go your way. And then you wind up at 45. I feel good about that. I think this is going to be an absolute beatdown. I think by this time next week, Mike, could Kansas be the 25th ranked team in the country?
Rank us.
Who's to say?
Rank
Hashtag
us.
rank us. Do
Wichita
it.
State. Watch us.
I honestly, I knew they were going to get votes because they were a standalone game on Friday on ESPN.
Yeah.
It's worth something. Again, you'll have an entire day of college football in the books, and KU's going to be, again, on a light slate Saturday night. People are going to be tuning in. And it may be to the point where you say, if voters say, okay, I can't really deny this anymore. They just beat Illinois. They beat the brakes off Illinois, and now they're dominating Nevada, which, again, everyone's going to look at Nevada and say they're not that good, but it's another test. Do what you're supposed to do. You don't get penalized for playing bad teams as long as they look really bad. If you say, okay, well, they're a bad team, and you should dominate them.
That's what good teams do.
That's how they end up on the top 25. Exactly.
Should they be ranked in the top 25 this week? Real quick. Are you upset about it? Or
no, I'm not upset about it. I think they were fourth on receiving votes.
Yeah.
So
they're T28.
That's about right.
Yeah.
That's about right. I didn't think they deserved to be in the top 25 coming into the season. It's Kansas football. You're still using history as sort of like this siren to say, okay, let's wait a little bit to see if they can do it again this year, because everyone's waiting for that regression, not just KU fans. Everybody who pays attention to college football is waiting for that regression as well. So I'm not mad about it, but I do think even if they're not in after this week, you beat BYU, you go 4-0, you're looking at a top 25 match.
Oh, definitely.
Texas, which could be really exciting.
Definitely.
That could be really exciting.
It is on the table, and I would even say I think it's likely. That is the most likely outcome. Top 25 matchup against Texas, though. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. That BYU game will be interesting, but you got to take care of business now and do what good teams do. I do trust the coaching staff as well. And therefore, I think I'm with you on Dong in this spread. I'm excited. That's what it is. Future's really, really bright.
I wish I had sunglasses too, because right after you said that, I would have put them on and said, you're right. Future is so bright.
No, that you need to
flip the shades on.
Yeah.
Like David Caruso.
Yeah, let's just keep buying. Let's start buying props for ourselves.
Some of these bits don't work for the audio audience, so I apologize for all the glasses bits we did today, but there is a silver lining here. You could just be a part of the Show It All gang and go watch us on YouTube.
Watch us show it.
Right? We're popping on YouTube where we show it all. Could be wrong on YouTube. Go subscribe there wherever you're listening. Subscribe,
rate us,
leave a review,
rank us.
Hey, we were top 6. We were top 6 in the United States 2 weeks ago. We didn't crack the top 6 last week. That's unacceptable. If we're setting goals for ourselves, I expect to be a top 5 sports podcast in the world.
KU fans, it's on all of us together. We beat Duke.
We're a team.
We beat the Duke podcast.
Yeah.
That was important for me.
That felt really good.
Yeah.
We did beat Draymond again last week as well.
Again.
We own Draymond right now. So wherever you're listening or watching, subscribe, rate, review, send us your takes.
Yes.
Our DMs are open.
Be like Eli.
So
send us your take in the dark.
Or a question. Yeah, you don't even have to be on camera. If you just want to do audio, you can do that as well. But DM us on Twitter. We've got a Google form on our Twitter page as well if you want to submit it there. We want you to be on the show with us. You could be wrong, just like we could be wrong. Bye, Mike.
That was really good. I wanted to end on that one.
Cool.